So before we get into the slow version of the lick you just heard, you can get the tabs for absolutely free for this one and over 200 other lessons if you go to this link, buy the QR code, and you will also have the same link in the description. So this lick is based on what I like to refer to as the Mixolydian pentatonic. It's also known as the John Hammer scale from the composer of the Miami Vice soundtrack and a bunch of other things. But you don't need to know that really. All you need to know is that you take your trusty old pentatonic, minor pentatonic that is, and then you take the flat 3 and put it up to a major third instead. So you get this 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. So that's the scale, and the position we're using here is what I call the day 1 position for the minor pentatonic, but like I said, all G's here is going to be up to G sharp. So the sequence goes like this, slow. So basically we have this sequence, and we do that on each string pair, but only once. And from here I'm gonna go, and then just down the scale. Put that together. So the way that I would go about practicing this would be to move it chromatically up and down the neck, because that's just my preferred way of doing it. Of course you could, sit here in the same position and beat yourself up over it, but I don't think that's the best way to do it, because you can drive yourself insane just sitting in the same spot, hearing the same notes over and over again. So you get a slight variation by moving it up and down the fretboard. So you can't really see this here because it's out of view of the camera. So if I start here, for example, would be, and I would do that once or twice, move up a fret. And continue on like that. And that's a better way of doing it, I think, than just sitting in the same position. But, try both and see what you like the best. Now, if you pick this the way that I pick it, I start with a downstroke. You're gonna get a lot of inside picking here. And I know a lot of people are not very good at that because they tend to only practice outside picking. So this is a good example of why it's good to practice both and not just be comfortable with one way of picking. So even if you do alternate picking, if you always do things in one way, stop that right now and practice everything with an upstroke as well. And you can even do that with this one. So you just turn the picking around, so with an upstroke, and then you turn all the pick strokes around. And you might think, well, if I can do that, why do I need to learn, whatever inside picking if that's harder for you, or outside picking? Why can't I just turn things around? Thing is, if you want to improvise, or there's going to be certain phrases you're trying to learn from a solo or whatever, where you won't have the ability to choose because of things that come before it or things that come after it. And in that case, you kind of paint yourself into a guitar technique corner where you're stuck, where you're really good at doing it one way and you really suck at doing it the other way. And that's almost worse than being bad at both in terms of the mental anguish you will feel, because well, if I could only do it starting with this pick stroke, I would be fine. But when you start on another pick stroke, you feel like not a beginner necessarily, but you feel like way less fluent. So the easiest way to solve this is just to make sure that when you practice alternate picking exercises or runs, don't do it just one way. I think it's fine to do it one way when it's just a run in a particular solo, but for your overall technique practice, make sure you do it starting with both an upstroke and a downstroke. So if I take just the pentatonic scale here, if I go like this, then I want to do that again, start with an upstroke. And it's not really about getting equally comfortable with both, because you're probably always going to prefer starting on either a down or either an upstroke on certain phrases. But it's about not getting into a complete train wreck technique-wise if you start on the wrong pick stroke for you. So if you have trouble with this before, which I think you should have, unless you're some sort of technique genius, definitely try this for a while, and I think you will see that even your starting on the favorite pick stroke will feel better, because you're just improving a part of your technique that's really holding you back, even though you might not realize it. So give that a try. Now it's time for the Patreon exclusive part of this lesson, and you can find that over here. If you just go to patreon.com/JohnBjork, and you have a ton of lessons there. I have a library spanning back to 2017. So there's a shit ton of lessons basically. And for this specific one, I'm gonna show you how you can practice it in a more efficient way, and also how to put it into your daily practice schedule to really improve your overall technique. So hope to see you there.